Okay. So let's start with asset protection. What are some steps that physicians can take to ensure that their assets are protected should something go wrong?
Well, there's a few things you can do. A lot of times people want to hop to very complicated things right off the bat, but there's some really simple things you can do, that will protect your assets. The first thing we always tell our clients to do is to make sure their practice or hospital or wherever they're working has a qualified retirement plan, and if so, maximize their contributions to that because balances in qualified retirement plans are typically outside of the reach of any kind of liability or a lawsuit. So those assets would be protected. So it's very important to maximize that retirement plan each and every year you're in practice to the extent you can so that you are pushing as much money into that kind of a vehicle as possible. There are some other investment vehicles that are also outside of a physician's reach, so reach of a lawsuit rather, that should be considered. So for instance, many physicians, particularly younger physicians, have children that are young and they want to save for college education. The best way to do that is really frankly to open a 529 plan, because a 529 plan is actually outside of the estate of the physician. It's technically not part of the estate any longer. That those funds have been earmarked for college education. Now, a lot of times people get tied up in that because they think, oh gosh, what happens if my child doesn't go to college, or what happens if I have more than one child? But 529 plans are actually very flexible. You can change the beneficiary on the 529 plan. So if you have one child that doesn't go to college or wants to do something different, another that does, you can certainly change the beneficiary. If you overfund the plan, which candidly I have not seen happen yet, but if you overfund the plan and you have too much money in the plan, maybe you have a child that ends up getting scholarships or things like that, you can do a couple of different things. You can change the beneficiary again to one of your other children, or you can leave those funds in place and then it becomes a college education vehicle for your grandchildren. The final option would be if you just decide, gosh, I just don't need this money in a college education vehicle, you can actually pull the money back in and use it. You would, in that case, pay taxes on the growth because these plans grow tax deferred and come out tax exempt if they're used for education. So you would pay tax on the growth. You'd also pay a 10% penalty on the growth. So there would be a penalty there, but in the interim, those funds are outside of your estate. The final thing the physicians need to do is make sure that they have estate planning documents, and I'm not talking about super complicated things with all kinds of trusts. You can certainly do that if you want to, but you need to have a document that just stipulates what happens in the event of my death, who would be my executor, who would take care of my children, who would be my trustee. And as part of that, you want to think about all those matters. Many times physicians will be presented with options to do all kinds of trusts that would be asset protection trusts. I would say that in some circumstances that could make sense. However, you just want to be careful with that because many of those trusts are irrevocable. So unlike some of the other things I was just talking about, those are, once you put funds into an irrevocable trust, you cannot get them back. So you just want to be careful with the kind of estate planning you do, but every physician, really all of our clients should have, physician or not, should have good solid estate planning documents.
Okay.